So Barbara Glanz is a certified speaking professional, but here's something interesting. Anybody ever know that there is a Speakers Hall of Fame? I didn't know that. And Barbara and Ken both are members of the Speakers Hall of Fame. She's been a teacher all her life. And she's authored many books, including co-authoring a book with Ken titled The Simple Truths of Service. And there's a YouTube video about that with 5 million hits because it's just that wonderful to see. Her clients number in the hundreds, including, and I just pulled them off, trying not to go in alphabetical order, American Honda Motor Company, Nordstrom, Delta Airlines, Bank of America, I mean, literally pages. So, Barbara, thank you, and share with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's been a long day, and just a really exciting, challenging, thought-provoking, and hopeful. Don't you feel hopeful with all these wonderful things going on? But I thought I'd take a little bit different tack today. I've been blessed to do keynoting all over the world, actually. And lately I've been speaking on creating a culture of kindness, because I think it's so desperately needed, especially in our corporate environments. And I thought I would share with you today some of the really simple models and tools that I use in my speaking to really help people understand what can they do and how can they do it right away to be kinder people. So first of all, we know a lot of the benefits of kindness: better relationships, better health, and really impact on bottom line. So kindness is really all about choice. And one of the beliefs I have is that most people in our world today do not get what I call in their guts, that they have choices. I think we've pretty much created a whole society of victims. Are you seeing that? You know, everybody seems to have an excuse or someone to blame. And so one of my goals when I speak is to really help people leave understanding that they have choices. We may not be able to control most of our circumstances, but we can always control our response to them. And I'd love to tell a story about my husband. He had two friends that commuted to downtown Chicago every day for 19 years. 5 days a week, they went on the same train. They went to the newsstand, bought a paper from the same guy. Every day, one of the guys would say to the guy at the newsstand, "Hi, Joe, how are you? What'd you think of the Cubs? How's your family?" Never once in 19 years, 5 days a week, did Joe ever learn his name or respond to him in any other way than a grunt. So my husband's other friend finally said, "How can you day after day after day be nice to this guy who doesn't even acknowledge your presence on the face of the earth?" And the other friend said, "You know, I learned a long time ago not to let someone else control my behavior. Not to let someone else control my behavior." I think of that story every single day, because what it says to me is no matter what anybody in this world says or does to me, I always have a choice in how I respond. Now, I'm a very visual person. I like hands-on kinds of things. So a number of years ago, I created a very simple model, actually for myself to begin with, because I wanted to be able to see and measure the difference I could make every single day. And so I created this little 3-column chart. It has a minus column, a 0 column, and a plus column. And down below it says, your choice in every interaction. So every time we interact with anybody, we have a choice. We can discount that person, make them feel less important than us or our organization. We can just take care of their business. And I call those people slot fillers. They come in, they do just enough to get by. There's no passion, no excitement, and it really is just a 0. But every time we make what I call a human level connection, and we say to that person, "I see you. You are of value. You exist," That is creating a plus for that person. And folks, I'd like you to leave with that tattooed in your brain, because it's so much fun to live your life that way, always trying to create a plus. And so as we think about that, I had a wonderful experience. I was speaking in downtown Chicago. We stayed for lunch afterwards. My husband was able to go with me that day. And the young man who waited on us had his name badge, Mario. And second or third time he came to our table, I said, "Gosh, Mario, you're doing a great job, and I love your smile." And he stood up real tall. He stopped. He said, "Well, you can just call me Super Mario." And it was so precious. The rest of the hour, he was Super Mario, just flitting around, talking to everybody, doing everything he could to help them. And so it's such a gift. I think that is the gift we have every day in every interaction that we have. And then the other story I often share too. I walked into the women's washroom, cold, snowy February day in O'Hare, Chicago, and there was a woman cleaning. And she was like this. So I walked up to her, touched her on the arm, looked her right in the eyes, and I said to her, "Thank you so much for keeping this restroom clean. You're really making a difference for all of us who travel." She perked up. She started cleaning like this. And by the time I got ready to go, folks, she was handing towels out to all the people who were washing their hands. And I left with tears in my eyes because that cost me nothing. But what did I tell her in that one statement? Yeah, she was of value. And again, if we can live our lives that way, and we've been talking about this all day long, making those human level connections to say to someone, "I see you, you count for something." Now, my master's degree is in adult learning, so I always like to have an anchor for my audiences. And so I use an acronym for the word kind. The K is kinesthetic. So it's touch, body language, eye contact, a smile. I love the little thought, a smile is a window that shows your heart is at home. And so when we share a smile, we can just make such a difference. And I have a challenge to myself when I walk down the terminals. I try to make every person that I see smile. It drives my kids crazy, but it's fun. The I is for imaginative. And so getting creative about what we can do to surprise people with our kindnesses. The city of Kansas City has started a kindness campaign. They've passed out buttons that say kindness is contagious all over the city to all kinds of people, children in grade schools, moms at home, business people, college students, and they've told them wear the button until somebody does something kind and then pass it on. After the first year of doing this, they traced the buttons to 12 different countries. And I'm not sure it's connected, they think it is, but the crime rate in greater Kansas City went down a whole bunch of percents during that time. And now it's in the schools. They have the kindest Kansas Cityan, the kindest school in Kansas City. It's a wonderful, wonderful project. A company called Booster Juice in Canada. Anybody from Canada here? Okay, the owner decided that she would do 22 days of kindness. Why 22 days? Anybody know? It takes 21 days to create a habit. So 22 days. For every person who worked for her, they got one shift a week paid that all they had to do was to do kind things for people. And they did such creative things. They washed the windows of the neighboring businesses. They went out in the parking lot, washed cars. Some of them carried signs down the expressway. They just had the most wonderful time. Then the community got involved, and the media got involved. And so it created this huge spiral of kindness in their city. I found out Mercedes-Benz realized that many of their employees, especially on the line, had never driven a Mercedes car. And so they decided that they would provide a Mercedes car for every single employee to drive for 48 hours. And they could choose any time. It could be a birthday and anniversary. But again, Recognizing them is important and being kind. The N is neighborly. Think about the best neighbor that you've ever had. And of course, right away, I think of Dear, Dear Mr. Rogers. And if you haven't seen the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, watch it, have your Kleenex there. And then State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And the D is the most important one of all, folks, because it's deliberate. And we've talked about intentionality today. I think random acts of kindness are wonderful, but I want you to do deliberate acts of kindness. And so you've got to have a plan. And I have all kinds of ideas for plans, but I want to tell you one plan that I share with every audience that I love. It's so simple. So when you get up in the morning, you put 5 pennies in this pocket. Every time you do something kind for someone, you move a penny over here. And you don't go to bed at night till all 5 pennies are in this pocket. There is a wonderful quotation from Mother Teresa that has become a philosophy of life for me. She says, "Be kind and merciful. Let no one ever come to you without coming away better and happier." So have a personal strategy. Let no one ever come to you personally without coming away a little better and a little happier. But you can also have a business strategy. So let no one ever come to your organization without coming away a little better and a little happier. One other quick model I use, I call the human business model. Again, it says every interaction has 2 levels, the business level of meeting whatever the person's external objectives are, but there's also the human level, which is all about how they feel in that interaction. That was brought up earlier with the Maya Angelou quote. But you can get your business taken care of a lot of different places. So where do you want to go to do your business? Isn't it going to be a place that makes you feel good? And so let no one ever come to your organization without coming away a little better and a little happier. So in this wonderful world of ours, when we can be anything, please be kind. Thank you.
Remember I told you that Barbara has a story that had 5 million hits on YouTube? It's because it's such a fabulous story. And I've asked her to finish this up by telling us that story and the fact that it actually has a component that goes beyond kindness to corporate cultural change, changing the system. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay. Well, this is a story that happened a number of years ago when I first started speaking. And actually, it's the story that Ken and I wrote the book about, The Simple Truths of Service, inspired by Johnny the Bagger. And there have been 2 movies made of it. One is a 16-minute dramatization, and then another shorter one. But it's a story of hope, and kindness is a beginning. And so you'll see that in the story. So I had been asked to speak to 3,000 employees of a large grocery store chain. And they brought everybody, the baggers, the cashiers, the produce people, the meat packers, everybody. And I love when I get to do that because I'm speaking to the whole company, so everybody leaves with the same message on the same page. One of the things I said to them is, what could you do to add your personal signature to your work? What could you do, whatever your job is, to make the customer feel special? And I gave them a bunch of ideas. Well, I give my home phone number to every audience in the world. Never had a bad experience. And about 2 months after I'd spoken, I had a call. And the person on the line told me that his name was Johnny and that he was a bagger in one of the stores. And he also told me he was a person of Down syndrome. And he said, "Barbara, I liked what you said." And he said he went home that night. He said, "I got an idea." And he asked his dad if he would help him. And he decided every night when he goes home to find a thought for the day. And then his dad helps him. They print it out 6 times on a page. He prints out 50 pages every night, cuts them out, signs his name on the back, And the next day, for every person's groceries he bags, he puts a thought for the day in the bag. Now, I had tears. Well, about a month later, the store manager called me. He said, Barbara, you won't believe what happened this morning. He said, when I went out on the floor at 9:30 this morning, the line at Johnny's checkout was 3 times longer than any other line. He said, I went ballistic. I was yelling, get more people out there, get more lanes open. And he said, the customers said, no, we want to be in Johnny's lane. We want the thought for the day. So he said, who do you think is the most important person in our whole store? He said, one woman even came up and said, I used to just shop once a week, but now I come in every time I go by because I want a thought for the day. So you know that impact on bottom line. 3 months later, he called me back again, and he said, Barbara, you and Johnny have transformed our store. He said, now in the floral department, when they have a broken off flower or an unused corsage, we used to just throw them away. He said, now they go out on the floor and they find an older woman or a little girl and they pin it on her. He said, one of our meat packers loves Snoopy, so he ordered 50,000 Snoopy stickers, and every time he packages a piece of meat, his meat gets a Snoopy sticker on it. And I said, I don't know about dog stickers on meat. But he said, we are having so much fun, and our customers are having so much fun. End of the story, and I don't use name or location because Johnny's parents have asked me not to, and this isn't in the book, but end of the story, a few years ago, the manager called me and he said it's a small store, he said they had just won the award for the very best store in the entire United States. And all because of one little guy doing something extra, something kind, something that made people feel wonderful. And you see how that kindness spread and changed the entire culture of the store. So my belief is, if little Johnny can do it, no reason why every single one of us in this room can't do it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And would you thank the panel? Thank you all.